Conservative James Moore is the incumbent in Port Moody, Westwood, Port Coquitlam. He's Minister of Canadian Heritage and Official Languages. Mr. Moore, good morning.
Good to be with you, Bill.
Your reaction to Michael Ignatieff's plan for helping fund post-secondary education?
Well, it's interesting, but it's, another uncosted promise by the Liberals. Liberals have also promised to massively increase funding for the CBC, massively increase funding for the Canada Council for the Arts, massively increase for a whole bunch of things, but they've also said that they won't raise taxes on one hand, but then on the other hand, yesterday we had John McCallum, who was a former revenue minister for the Liberal government, saying that they will raise taxes. So what's clear is that the Liberals are unclear about how they're going to pay for all these promises, whereas yesterday, as you know, we announced in British Columbia, the Prime Minister did, we want to have income splitting for families after we balance the budget. So in other words, we're making promises that we can pay for. Unlike the Liberals, they promised to scrap the GST. We promised to reduce it by 2 points. In other words, we make promises that we can actually pay for. The Liberals will promise everything.
Well, your promise for funding for families is a promise that most people are going to have to wait 5 years for.
Well, they're going to have to wait until we balance the budget, but it's obviously incentive to make sure that the Parliament of Canada focuses on balancing the budget, but it's also a commitment, again, that we can afford. And it's a commitment that'll be welcome, especially for British Columbia families. You know as well as I do, Bill, that the cost of living, especially in the Lower Mainland, has only gone up and up and up over the last 15 or 20 years. And families need tax breaks. That's what they need the most. And this is our focus on a post-balanced budget Canada. No other party, by the way, no party is actually talking about getting to a balanced budget. We have the most aggressive and reasonable plan for getting to a balanced budget by 2015. Economists recognize our plan. It was in our budget. It makes sense. It gets us there. And then after we balance the budget, this is what our plan is for families.
There are a lot of people who are concerned, though, that you're committing to spending an awful lot of money on jet aircraft and prisons. So what's your response to that criticism? Well,
those critics, I think, would have to look at the fact that the CF-18 aircraft is well past its prime. It's an airplane that needs to be retired, and we need to replace it. The CF-18 is a first-generation fighter. We're not going with second. We're going with third-generation fighter. And the F-35 airplane that we've procured, by the way, it's an airplane procurement process that was started by the Liberals. We're following through on it. So in other words, the Liberals talk about buying equipment for the military. We actually do it. And we're getting them, and they're going to service Canada well for the next 30 to 35 years. So this is an aircraft that is going to be good for Canada to serve Canada's interests, massive land space in our border integrity issues, and also to participate in things like we're doing, which is imposing a UN and NATO mandated no-fly zone over Libya. So this will service Canada. With regard to prisons, our prisons need to be upgraded. They need to be fixed. We need to protect our corrections officers across the province and across the country, and to make sure that we have the facilities to hold the criminals that are obviously a menace to many of our communities. I don't make any apologies for that, Bill. I mean, people can talk about how we have to be tough on crime, but, yes, there is a price tag associated with that, and we are going to build the prisons that are necessary so we can separate those who play by the rules from those who don't in our society.
Jack Layton today pledged to cap credit card rates and fees. What is your reaction to that?
This is nothing new. The NDP have promised that in the past. The NDP are on an island on that. This is not, we have effective consumer protection laws in this country already, capping credit card rates. This is something that the NDP has played with all the time, but I don't think it's an effective use. I think market forces are more than adequately address that issue.
According to all polls so far, the question isn't whether or not Conservatives can win, but whether or not you can win a majority. To do that, you have to win more seats in places like Metro Toronto and Metro Vancouver. How do you do that?
Well, we do it, I think, by pointing out the fact that obviously this is the fourth election campaign in 7 years. Canada's economy is rebounding. We're going in the right direction. The TD Bank just 2 weeks ago said that the Canadian economy this year is going to grow at 3.5 points, not to the 3 points they originally thought. So the Canadian economy is going in the right direction. But it is a fragile recovery because so much of our economy is dependent on what's happening in the international scene. Canada needs steady, stable government, and steady, stable government means a majority Conservative government. The Liberals will not win a majority government. The only way they're going to get a majority is if they bound together with the Bloc and the NDP like they did last time. So we need a steady, stable Conservative majority government. And I think we win seats by doing what we've done in the Lower Mainland, which is deliver unprecedented funding for key projects across British Columbia and in the Lower Mainland. And we nominate candidates who are going to do a fantastic job. We have Ronald Leung, who's a former radio talk show guy. He comes from You're in My Stock, Bill. So that's got to be a radio talk show guy is always a good thing in public life, I think.
They're popping up everywhere.
They're popping up everywhere. But Ronald Young and Burnaby Douglas, Jennifer Clark, 3-term city councillor in the city of Vancouver, I think is going to give Eddie Fry a run for her money and would be a fantastic MP in Vancouver Centre. So we've got great candidates running in British Columbia. We have a great platform. We're leading the G8 in economic recovery, and we have a leader who understands Western Canada.
Mr. Moore, thank you. We'll look forward to seeing you and talking to you at greater length here in studio.
All the best, Bill.
James Moore, Conservative incumbent, Port Moody, Westwood, Port Coquitlam, Minister of Canadian Heritage and Official Languages.